Thank you so much. I think it's me, Zareen, the first presenter. So let me share my screen. Is it okay, everybody?
Zareen, before you proceed, just a short announcement.
Yes, go ahead.
I am Parantap Hemendrabhai Vakharwala, and I'll be the moderator for this breakout room. Before we begin, here are some couple of ground rules. I ask everyone who is not presenting to keep their cameras and mics off during the presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat and then we'll address them during our Q&A session. Presentations need to stay within 15 minutes. When the time is up, I will ask the presenter to wrap up their points so that we can move to the next presentation. And lastly, I would like to remind everyone that the session is being recorded. And if you want to turn on live captions, there is an option in Microsoft Teams. Thank you. And now I shall pass on to Zareen Amtul.
Thank you, Prantap. Let me first share my screen. Okay, I think you can see what I can see.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me start, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present my work here in this international conference. I welcome you all, and thank you so much for joining in. After very lively and interesting talks from Shannon, Emily, and Nadia, mine might sound a little boring. So let me introduce myself. I joined Windsor University almost a year ago in the midst of this pandemic. And for everybody else, perhaps it might be abnormal, but for me, it has been normalized. So I sometimes get goosebumps when I think about, going back to in-person or face-to-face teaching or learning ways of, normalizing. For me, it's been not normal. For me, the pandemic is a kind of normal life. So this is, I saw this pandemic by two ways personally in firsthand. First, as in my own capacity, that this pandemic is a very normalized day-to-day routine for me. Second, in my capacity in teaching the students, I'm teaching students who are enrolled in the Masters in Medical Biotechnology program at Windsor University in the Chemistry and Biochemistry department. And 99.99% of the students who are enrolled in this program are the international students. And through this course, I came across personally the stresses and the anxiety and the frustration the students were going through. I got a chance to talk to them in my personal capacity for different reasons, and like whenever I get a chance to talk to them about their aspirations, their perspectives, the reasons they are here, and what are their future programs and objectives in life, what are the career prospects for them. And then find that the students are going through a lot of stress, there is hopelessness and frustration, anxiety. Keep in mind, these are the international students who bring around roughly $4 billion of annual revenue to Canada's post-secondary institutions. And they roughly make up around 16.2% of all enrollments. And this is not a very latest figure, and I believe it has might gone up since since I have these statistics. And especially the students in general and the international students in particular are going through this sort of the kind of frustration because of the unprecedented levels of pandemic related anxiety that COVID-19 has brought. And on one side, it is leading to global instability, but in general, but in particular, as I mentioned, the international students who are actually paying 3 times the tuition fee as compared to the local students. And for getting the international experience, and this is what they're not getting, in fact, and which is leading to a lot of mental health issues. And there have been reports already in over the last years, and especially last year, number of papers published which are letting us know that how these mental health effects are leading to emotional suppression, and like which is leading to the decreased capacity of the students to accomplish many tasks that they are supposed to be going through while they're a part of a curriculum or a program or educational institutions, which is especially impairing their leading some sort of memory issues, problem solving and thought processes that they need to carry out some of the assignments. And it is worsening their motivational state of physiological need fulfillment to be in contact with the other people, right? And the most devastating thing is that they're feeling they have no control over changing the situation, which is greatly affecting our competency in general at work and interactions at home, and not only leading to the mental health effects, but also to physical discomforts. And as a mean to overcome this problem, we need to take sweeping actions, not only to get our academic rights, but we have to do do things at both at foundational level as well as the advanced level to provide a kind of emotional regulation strategies to our international students in particular, so that they can feel greater autonomy in their lives and to get rid of some of the symptoms that we are seeing because of the pandemic. So what happens when I came across with these students, and I find that there is a need of, they need a kind of counseling, which I named as social, emotional, professional learning. And I then at that time, when I was in the fall semester, I just taught these students, and I came across with these students only for one semester in the fall. And I realized that I need to do something about it. And then I thought of why not I just offer them a kind of tutorial, which I named as SAPL tutorial, social, emotional, professional learning tutorial. Then my very next course in the winter semester, I designed bi-weekly tutorials, and I over the span of 12 weeks, I offered 5 tutorials to my students, and I structured them around, as I mentioned here on this screen, you can see. Unfortunately, can I use my mouse? Okay, yes. So in the very first tutorial, I used to teach students, just try to show them a very positive picture of what it may lead to. Like, okay, I admit that we are going through a tough time, a rough time, so that if there's anybody in the denial phase, they should not be in the denial phase anymore. But at the same time, I try to portray students a very compelling picture of the future. I tell them, what are the values in life they should value, right? They should all their efforts into. I tell them what is the meaning of being successful, instead of running after the materialistic things and the luxurious life and monetary benefits. It's better to think about how they can make themselves happy. And I tell them, if a person who has everything in life but the happiness, he's not the most successful person, right? So I first of all, I just ask them to make their goals right and do not sacrifice a small happiness for the big happinesses or for the big celebrations. For some people, there are no big celebrations in life. To enjoy the moment that you are in, embrace what we are going through. There is no denial about it, but look towards the positive picture. So this is how I set up my stage when I start teaching these students about these sessions. Second is about I tell them, the social distancing is not about to stop networking. Because of the pandemic, the networking states has been changed. So we can still network, but different ways of networking are there. And then I try to invite a couple guest speakers from the industry, because mind you, these students, they usually look for jobs in the industry once they are done graduation. So I try to bring guest speakers from their field of interest who can give them the insider perspective and giving them an impression of that nothing has changed. Things are as it is. And if the industry realize that students are not having hands-on experience, and this should not be a problem that the student look at it in a way that because of this, they have the chances of getting into this competitive field are minimized, right? And in the fourth session, I try to encourage them that they use this opportunity while they are confined in the boundaries of their homes to take some courses, do some certification, and do not stop job hunting. Many people, it's not true that the jobs have been minimized. The jobs are still there, but they have been switched from face-to-face in person to the virtual setting. And the very last session, I give students an opportunity to present themselves in a way, rather than talking about a technical aspect like genetic engineering, a protein structure, or cloning. I ask them to talk about their fears, anxieties that they think they are having issues with. And when students start talking about it, other students in the audience, they can relate to what students are talking about, which creates a sense of compassionate class community. And students think of about how to mitigate these problems together, and then get out of it. So this is how I structured my tutorials into 5 sessions. When I designed these tutorials, I didn't have anything in mind to make it a kind of sortal project like this scholarship of learning and teaching. But when I realized that some grant applications are there, I thought of why not I just make it a project and see the impact of my tutorial sessions on students' learning and well-being in general. And for this, the first step was to build the resources to offer these tutorials. Second step, to embed these tutorials in one of the courses, which I did, the course that I offered in the winter semester, just last term. And then I try to design a way of assessing the effect of these tutorials by two sources of data, the primary one and the secondary one. For primary data, I designed some surveys. I asked students to fill out those surveys before I started any session or any tutorial, and I asked them to fill out another survey once I'm done the tutorial session. And the secondary mean of data was to indirectly see the performance of students in various elements of the tutorial associated course, which was the course that I offered in the winter semester. And once I get the data, then I have plans to analyze the data using different softwares, chi-square and binary regression analysis, and finally to publish my findings at what I get. Okay, so this is a very rough, raw data. Sorry, I'm just going a little faster because I have only 5 minutes left. But I'll be happy to take your questions or answer and explain further during the, I think once all the presenters are done. So this is my data, but keep in mind it's a very raw data. This is a word of caution, because I just finished my winter semester and I'm still in the process of getting consent forms from the students. And so far I've got half of these students have sent back me the consent forms. So this data is not a very true representation for the entire class. It's only based on the consent forms I've received so far. And this data is representing the results of the survey that I did before the tutorial sessions and after the tutorial sessions. And as you can see, some of the questions in the surveys were based on great emotional regulation, confidence, and other points. So here, in order to include the element of grit, I had a couple questions. For example, I'm asking students, if you fail to reach an important goal, how likely are you to try again? Or if you encounter a problem while working towards an important goal, how well you keep working? And the options were available from A, not well at all, to E, extremely well. And you can see before the tutorial survey, these are the students' responses. However, after they've done all the sessions, you can see it as, I won't say significant because I have not done any data analysis yet, but I can see obviously an increase in students' grit response or characteristic, especially if you look at the students who are in A here before the survey. Some of the students were not well at all in responding to be very perseverance in their goals. But after the survey, you can see those students have been decreased now. Like I see only a couple responses. The students are still struggling with the grit and perseverance and pursuing the goals. Second piece of data is again based from surveys, where I asked a couple questions to find out their emotional regulation impact before and after these tutorials. And the questions were, how often are you able to pull yourself out of a bad mood? Or when things go wrong for you, how calm are you able to remain? And again, the options were A, not calm at all, to E, extremely calm. And here the response is for me, like on the before tutorial survey, you can I don't see much difference before and after, but if you look at A and D before tutorial survey and look at the A and D after, it looks like there's a huge increase in the number of students who were not feeling good at all before, or not that good. After the tutorial sessions, they were very good at putting themselves out of a bad mood, right? So this one again was very encouraging. And the last piece of data I have from the element of the course, the assessment, the way I designed. So I have one part of my assessments was the bi-weekly quizzes after every 2 weeks on each Fridays, were consisting of around 10 to 20 questions. For this, I give them around 20 to 40-minute window. And you can see here on the x-axis that the after the first quiz, the average of students was around 3, but after a second, it was somewhere close to 4. After third and fourth quiz, close to 5, and after fifth quiz, I guess almost 5. So you can see a gradual increase in students' performance throughout the course. Again, keep in mind, I did not do any statistical analysis. It might change the data a little bit, but it's still, the raw data is very significant. Okay, the most important part of this assessment was the comments I got from the students, and you can see some of the comments I have highlighted to save your time. For example, the SAPL lectures help us to build our professional attitude and make us ready to work in industry. SAPL sessions were of great help. SAPL was a very inspired and helpful addition. Similarly, here SAPL sessions that help us to learn beyond the syllabus. Greatly appreciate Dr. Amtul for going out of her way to arrange SAPL sessions for our better future. And this is one of the most favorite emails from somebody who was a very big critic of some of these strategies on my lectures. And I was very happy to hear this from that student. I completely lost hope of ever working on my field of studies because of the pandemic and the lab session being online. But after last 2 sessions, I realized that there are still hope left for me to build a career in the field I love so dearly. I would like to profusely thank you for going out of your way and doing so much for your students. You are becoming our guiding angel in these dark days of pandemic. This email was really, really encouraging, and it made my day. Okay, this is my last slide. Now, the thing is, the way I design these tutorial sessions, and we cannot use it only just to enhance the social, emotional, professional learning of our students. We can use it beyond for its intended purpose. For example, a similar type of tutorials can be designed and incorporated in our curriculum, both at fundamental and advanced level, to address the anti-Black racism, or racism against any kind of ethnicities. We can also use these tutorials to help with the EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusiveness within the program. And also, these type of tutorials gonna give a very good reputation to our institutions, and it will help us to access the global market for the upper year international students especially. And in the end, I would end my talk by saying that these SAPL sessions perhaps can serve as the nexus of pedagogy of care emerging from the crisis and shaped and built for the next normal. Sorry for going a little bit too fast. I was trying to stay on time. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Zareen Amtul, for the wonderful presentation. I would like to invite Edison Oliveira if you are in the session. Okay, Edison is not available. We shall move on with Tricia Gopal Singh. You can take over the presentation.
Hi friends, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm just going to share my screen with you all. Just a moment, of course it's not. Here we go. All right, and can you let me know if you're able to see the presentation on your screens, friends?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Amazing, thank you. I have 4 screens. It's properly like NASA here, okay? So
Yeah.
okay, so here we go. I've pre-recorded just to ensure that everything is functioning well.
Trisha, you can go ahead. You can start.
Sorry, my mic has been on and I've already moved to slide 2 with sound. Have you not been able to hear?
No, we cannot hear the sound on the slides.
Okay.
I guess you'll have to narrate.
All right, I apologize. I thank you really for your patience. We're going to try one more time. I'm wondering if it's the sound. All right, let's try again. What's happening with you? Sound, 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 sound. Include computer sound. Here we go. All right. Okay, can you let me know? Because I'm going to start again. Hoping that my computer sound is audible at this time, okay?
Yeah, you can play.
And welcome to our symposium today. It is my great pleasure to share with you what I have learned
Yes, we are.
in this
Yes,
journey into teaching Thank you and so learning much. in the online classroom. My name is Trisha Gopal Singh, and I will specifically focus on tips and tricks that we can use as educators to help position our students for academic success in the virtual classroom. In our time together, I'd like to share with you the 3 main steps that will put us on the pathway to success as educators in the online classroom. Sharing firstly tips to be an effective teacher in the virtual environment by getting to know your international learner. Step 2, before starting to actually teach any subject matter, to do a critical check-in to understand the impacts of culture and position and placement on our students. And step 3, we've summarized success strategies and we're sharing practical technical tips with you and have organized that in the areas of language, culture, and technology. Paul Levinson, American author, singer, and songwriter, tells us that online learning can be a lifeline to those who have obstacles, such as geographical distances or physical disabilities. It is our aim to share our findings with educators to better help them to provide the tools necessary to position our students in the virtual classroom for academic success. When we talk about creating a community in a classroom, we want to ensure that students from every culture, of every gender, of every time difference, of every faith and belief system feel comfortable in their virtual learning space, just as they would as if they were in a bricks and mortar classroom. It means that time needs to be set aside before a single lesson or subject is taught to build that community so that students feel that sense of belonging and position themselves for true academic success. Knowing your learners suggests that as educators, we collect relevant details about each student in our classroom. That profile with the student details will help us determine where we may need to differentiate instruction, provide possible accommodation for our lessons and as well as our assessments. We're not just talking about getting names, ages, places where people are born, but really understanding what's happening in their lives on that day-to-day basis. What time is it where they are when we start class? What's the main language that's spoken where they live? And is there a second language that's dominant for them? Why are they taking this class? What's the role of the teacher from their perspective? This type of information we can use to then determine how best we can support these students to give them the best chance of success. Doing a critical check-in at the start of the class before any lessons have been taught positions the educator to know better what tools students need to succeed in the online classroom. This starts with an assessment of English language proficiency and not assuming that all students will be proficient in English. Continuing with understanding and identifying the cultural norms in the day-to-day lives of our students, as well as what the role of education plays in their lives. It's important to identify the levels of digital literacy that exist, and for the younger students, if there is support needed at home, is it available and at what level? Understanding too the maturity of our students and their motivation to be in class and to learn online will help us better engage them with activities that keep their interest and attention. Again, all of this is moving towards the ultimate goal of creating an authentic sense of belonging in our classroom community. The global pandemic has changed our understanding and notion of concepts like classroom, face-to-face learning, parental support, and student engagement. Our findings and success strategies have been organized for your ease of reference by language, followed by culture, and lastly, technology. When we speak about language considerations, we want to ensure that while English is accepted as lingua franca, we do not assume that everyone speaks it with a high level of proficiency. We also want to be aware of the common types of errors English language learners may make so that we do not confuse proficiency with ability. It helps to ascertain the actual literacy level for our students in English or other language, and to understand that up to 15% of the second language can help promote the literacy in the first. As teachers, it's important that we think about the oral pace of our own instruction so that students can understand, and that we are very intentional with the types of words that we are using and are mindful that we are not being over technical with our words or even use of idioms. After language considerations, we place a spotlight on culture and try to understand how it has influenced education. Our students, for example, are they more familiar with the banking model of education, where teachers disseminate information which they receive? Or are they already familiar with student-centered learning, which enables them to have voice and choice? We need to understand the country's history and how education has been impacted, because this influences what active participation may look like locally. It may be different to what we expect as educators. What role does a teacher have? And what is the student's expectation of the teacher? And as it pertains to success, are they accustomed to having only end-of-term examinations with high marks, or is group work throughout the term acceptable? It's important to model the expected type of behavior during class time. What is an icebreaker? How do we respectfully listen? How can we share feedback, involve ourselves in constructive discussions, and even how do we respectfully resolve conflict? After reviewing language considerations and the cultural influences on education, we have a look at the level of digital skill that our students currently possess. It's important to confirm each student's digital literacy level and familiarity with the classroom platform that has been selected. The suggestion is to use a simple Google form or survey option that allows you to collect details on how familiar students are with the different types of platforms and applications being used. This form has been created and you are welcome to use it in your own classrooms. Additionally, it is important to understand, after reviewing language considerations and the cultural influences on education, we have a look at the level of digital skill that our students currently possess. It's important to confirm each student's digital literacy level and familiarity with the classroom platform that has been selected. In addition to doing this short survey to collect information as described, we also need to understand if students have devices with reliable internet. Do they have access to cameras, microphones, and even printers? And do they know how they function? Netiquette rules need to be discussed and modeled so that students understand what it means to be a respectful and inclusive digital citizen. This should not be assumed because in different cultures and countries, the understanding may not be the same as that of the teachers. It's possible and recommended that a communication contract be co-created, which includes how respectfully we can use the chat, how we can pose questions and engage in discussions. Part of that contract can include the creation of frequently used IT words to ensure that everyone has the same common understanding. In terms of technology support techniques, the number one I would have to say is considering whether there is a time difference between your start time for class or your meeting time for class and that of your students. This way, when you're establishing your early and two-way communication with the parents and students, you can keep that consideration in mind. A first step is always to send emails, ask for a confirmation of receipt, and then follow up with phone calls as necessary. If one-on-one support is required, schedule virtual meetings that can allow for time differences and support students and parents one-on-one. And if this doesn't work, or even in addition to, you can create short self-help videos detailing the platform students will use, where, how, and when they access the links for class, how they should enter the meetings, and how assignments should be submitted. It is recommended that educators become skilled at using at least the classroom platform that's chosen. Simple tasks like posting assignments, making daily announcements, adding points or grades to work assigned, and providing private comments with feedback are some of the key skills that will be required for educators. It is also important, of course, that they become comfortable with whichever video conferencing tool is being used to host the classroom. Be it Zoom with annotating features and breakout rooms, Google Meets being able to close that chat or mute participants, need I say more, or Microsoft Teams like today to share screen and share computer sound.
Trisha, sorry to interrupt. You have about a minute left.
Interactive learning and gamification.
Okay, sure. Thanks for letting me know.
Huge benefits to online learning and virtual classrooms. Teachers can benefit from mastering 2 to 3 tools to promote engagement, including Google Slides, Jamboards, forms, and sheets. But additionally, without too much extra skill required, these are a number of other sites that offer free pre-made community activities that can really allow students, regardless of their age or maturity level, or even willingness, to engage and interact even more with the subject matter to enhance and improve their learning of the materials. Another really fun teacher tip for increasing engagement for students of all ages is to create a cartoon avatar, your virtual self, if you will, in that cartoon form that the Bitmoji app or AR emoji app allows you to create. Secondly, it's really helpful if teachers consider those person face-to-face routines that happen in the class that can be transferred to online learning. These would include journal writing, read alouds, pair sharing, even virtual field trips and show and tells.
Trisha, time is up.
Okay, no problem. We're finished. Thank you so very much for your patience. Sorry about the sound trouble. I just wanted to close by saying, ultimately, what Bill Gates, what everyone is reminding us, is that the teacher, the person, the educator is the one that's making the difference. These bells and whistles are great, but ultimately it's us who's making that difference. So thank you so very much, and thanks for the time check.
Thank you for the amazing presentation. And now we shall move on to Edison Oliveira's presentation. Edison, are you available? I guess Edison is not available. So we shall proceed to Q&A session. If anyone has any questions, please leave them in the chat. I'll pass it on to our presenters. Zareen Amtul, I have a question which I feel that relates to me. I'm an international student currently studying from India in an online setting. So you mentioned something about jobs and emotional regulations. So I would like to know more that how can teaching students about job market and jobs which are available in other countries can help alleviate some of their burden and pressure.
Thank you so much. Let me see if I spell your name right. Paranthap, right? Paranthap?
Yes, Paranta.
Okay, Paranthap. Thank you so much for the question. In fact, it's not about that letting students know about the job availabilities or the job opportunities will alleviate their emotional issues or emotional suppression. The way I design those tutorials, I teach them because the students I teach, they are under a lot of stress. The main concern that they have, they say that they are not getting the hands-on experience. And for example, the course I teach them is a biotechnology laboratory course, which is a laboratory course, but I teach them virtually online, right? So even they're not getting forget about any internship or job opportunities outside the academia. Even within the academia, they are deprived of having the hands-on experience working in the lab. They're just confined to their homes and forced to learn all these techniques online and virtually. Right. So this is the issue that the students are having. So what I did when I invite the guest speakers, I especially give them the background and content and saying that you're not here to talk about any of the GMP or GLP or the good manufacturing practices or good laboratory practices or any of the techniques of biotech sectors. I brief them that you have to talk about the opportunities students have available. If this pandemic has made any difference in the job market available, in the criteria of choosing the candidate, the right intern or the employee for the students. And when these guest speakers talk to the students, they tell them that the pandemic is not the mistake or students' mistake. It's not the students, because of the students, they are in this situation. It is the global issue and everybody is going through it. And what they say, that everybody else is in the same boat as those students are, who are the ones in the international students who are not getting the right experience that they are paying for, right? 3 times more the tuition fee. So they tell them, once these students with no job experience, with no hands-on experience, apply for jobs, the employers are not going to discriminate them because everybody else is the same situation. Nobody has got globally such hands-on experience. So this is one thing, this is how just to take away their anxiety about getting into the job market. The students then from there, they get motivated and then they feel like, okay, there is nothing that they have done wrong. And it's because of the pandemic, their chances of getting into job market are not being slimmed down because of any reason. This is one thing. Second thing I tell students, like it's not like because of the pandemic, the job opportunities have been minimized. The job opportunities, in fact, have been maximized. I see majority of the jobs, if they could be, have been moved from online or face-to-face to the virtual component. There are many jobs available that you can work from home and just do the stuff. And for them, there are different websites available, and that's what I do. That's what I apply for the job, that I want to build some resources to compile all those websites and places and companies and internships and training opportunities which are available to the students while sitting at home, right? And I also tell them that, from here, Windsor University is offering so many professional development workshops, webinars, courses, sessions by CTL, by OOL, by HR also, like which students can attend and then can make their CV heavy. You can mention those training sessions that you have gone through in your CV, and in this way you're not wasting your time while sitting home, right? Similarly, I teach them and tell them there are different courses available that they can go and take. I was looking at some of the LinkedIn profiles, some of the industry people who are in the job market right now. A number of the courses they have taken from Coursera, right? Where you can get all these free courses and certification and diplomas, and then you can add them to your CV, which is looked at by the employers very highly. All these kinds of things that I offer during my tutorial session, it helps students to mitigate their anxiety, to have a positive picture of the future, and and not be as much frustrated as they were before. So this is, I don't know, I hope I answered your question. If not, I will be happy to answer more very specifically. But this is what I try to do, let's let them know that, still there are opportunities available. Job hunting has been, just do it differently, and then you will be able to find things off. And even if you can't, everybody else is in the same boat. So you are not being deprived of for not having hands-on experience because of the pandemic, and you are as the same as anybody else.
Yes, that is what we all students need to understand, because many of my friends are concerned that what will happen once we reach Canada and once we start searching for jobs. We don't have any hands-on experience, but what you just shared is very valuable.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Next up, we have one question for Tricia. Francis asks, thank you for your presentation. I am curious about how you manage the workload of teaching synchronously online. I teach asynchronously online at the university level, and your insights are very useful. Trisha, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat? I apologize for that.
It's okay. It's okay. Francis asks, thank you for your presentation. I am curious about how you manage the workload of teaching synchronously online. I teach asynchronously online at university level, and your insights are very useful.
Thank you for that. I'm glad the findings shared landed somewhere that can assist. I will say that it's been a tremendous overwhelm of time management, and being organized is really the key. It really requires that level of organization. That being said, I am finding more and more that you can do things that you did in the classroom. You can still do them online, and those are time savers. And in fact, some things allow you to speed up what you would do. You don't have to sit and manually correct. You don't have to make comments. You can voice note your comment. And the studies actually show that when you give feedback in that oral way, it resounds more with students. So it does take some more prep time initially, but then I find there's a wave that you can ride later on that allows you to save time, and the flexibility is incredible. I mean, we're sitting here in living rooms, we're eating on the side, cooking on the side, managing other things. So there is that flexibility there as well that's allowing us to be even more productive. So I'm glad that some of those sharings are helpful, and those, I know you'll have access to the presentations, but those sites, really, I encourage everyone, regardless of your age of students, really look for pre-made work. The reporting is there for you, assessment is done for you, and kids and even young adults, they love it. I mean, I'm just finishing up York University myself, and I will close by saying that they are exactly, these things are amazing, Mentimeter. So for the age 21s to 25s, they are still using these sites. We still do Kahoots. Okay, so don't dismiss it in the way that people think, well, it's for a certain age group. Right, I hope that answers, and thank you again.
One more time, I'll call for Edison Oliveira. If you are available, we can have your presentation. Any more questions for Tricia or Zareen? All right, I guess that is all for this breakout room. And Thank you, everyone who joined today, especially our presenters, Zareen Amtul and Trishya Gopal Singh. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And good luck to everyone. This has not been an easy time, but we really appreciate the facilitation. Thank you for that and the opportunity to share some of our findings.
Thank you so much, Prantap. Thank you for listening. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thanks again, everyone.